Hi, everyone. Welcome to Friday. Looking forward to our session today. As always, give me just a moment to set up my screen sharing options. There we go. Looking forward, as always, to the discussion. There's really, as far as open put selling positions, only a few things there to talk about today. So, hoping to have an opportunity to really open things up today and maybe take a few stocks that you may be interested in through the analysis that I like to do with Rebel Income. Answer questions that you have, maybe go through and review some other setups and see what you might be interested in. So hoping for lots of interaction, and feel free to drop comments and questions in the chat area as always. If you need to reach out to me during the week, there's a couple of different ways you can do it. One is through email. My email address is rebelincomesystem@gmail.com. I've just put that in the chat area if you need it, if you didn't already make a note of it. The other way is through the Discord server for Rebel Income, and you can do that a couple of different ways. You can message people directly through Discord, just through the direct message widget, so you can reach out to me directly that way. You can also drop a comment in the open discussion channel, which I also pay attention to throughout the course of each day, and we'll try to respond to questions as I get them there whenever I can. By way of housekeeping, just a couple of different things. If you are new to the Discord server, a couple of different areas to pay attention to in particular. Every Tuesday is when I post my weekly trading alerts, and you'll see those in the hashtag trade-alerts channel. So look for that. You will see me outline you'll see me outline three different possible trades that you can consider. I will always go with income trade number one, and that'll be the put sale that I outline there. And then they'll also include a covered call and a bull put spread, depending on what your preference is or what your trading authority may be in your account. So you have some different choices to make as far as the income trade that you want to place that will work for you for the week ahead. So that's the first area to pay attention to. The second is the live webinar channel. This is where I will post the link to this live stream each Thursday. Try to make sure to give you that a day in advance so that you have as much opportunity as possible to come on and join. The couple of other areas to pay attention to, and these are just some other areas that you can where I'm posting content every single day. The reports area, Monday, Wednesday, Friday is usually when you'll see me post a new report of just kind of going through the analysis of a stock from my watch list using the lens of the Rebel Income system. So you see me outline all of the data that I pay attention to, and how that stock does or does not line up with a useful opportunity to place a trade within the Rebel Income system. The articles channel is where I like to post content every Thursday. This is just kind of a broader discussion of market conditions, of elements of the Rebel Income system. Try to provide a little bit more information, a little bit more education, as it were, about how the system works and some of the different things that I'm paying attention to at any given time. Another area that you have exclusive access to as members of the Rebel Income community is the open discussion channel. This is an area not only where you can reach out to me, but where I'd like to encourage you to interact with each other. And this is an opportunity to compare notes about stocks that you may be looking at, not only those that fit in within the Rebel Income system, but also any stocks that you may be interested in, just want to get some additional thoughts on or perspectives from other members of the community. I pay attention to this thread actively, and so I will try to be responsive here as well. So you can message me directly. Even if you don't, I'll try to respond to those as well. So those are just a few of the different areas of the Rebel Income Discord server to pay attention to. And as always, if you have any questions, then you can always let me know. Okay, let's go ahead and move on, and let's dive in. As I mentioned, there's really just a couple of open positions I'm concentrating on right now that are set for expiry in a couple of weeks. That was the put sale that I placed last week on Hormel Foods, as well as as well as this week's put sale, which was on Nike. So let's go ahead and dive in. We'll review those really quickly, and then have an opportunity to open things up for the rest of for the rest of you, and answer any questions you have or review some stocks that you may be looking at. Okay. Start out with Hormel. So this is a stock that I followed in my watch list for quite some time. I've used it for a few trades in the past as well. And it's interesting kind of going through some sector rotation analysis this week. Consumer staples, which is the sector that the food products industry falls under, is one of the most underappreciated sectors in the market right now. So it's not too surprising that to find some useful value in a number of stocks in this sector. It's interesting, however, that some of the others that I've used quite a bit in the past and relied on, their value proposition may not quite be there just yet. Barry, thank you. Says hope you and your family had a great Christmas and New Year. Missed last week as I was traveling. That's okay. I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. We had a really enjoyable Christmas and New Year, spoiling the grandkids, and with a not quite 1 year old experiencing his first Christmas. That was a lot of fun watching him. I think he enjoyed wrapping paper and boxes more than he did his actual gifts, but we had a lot of fun. So thanks. If I find it, I'll in the open discussion area. I may post a picture of me as Santa with my grandkids. That was one of the other things that we did during December. That was a lot of fun. My granddaughter didn't want to have anything to do with Santa. She would not get more than a couple of feet close to me, but she was excited to see Santa. Just kind of nervous, but that was a lot of fun. So okay. Uh, so on Hormel, this is a stock, again, I've been following this for a while. It's been picking up some bearish momentum lately, as we can see. Let me open up get my drawing tools going here. Just a second. There we go. There we go. Okay. So we've been seeing bearish momentum pick up lately on Hormel Foods. This is from about mid-December, from a peak at around probably, what is this, 33.75 roughly. And apologize for the really bad handwriting. This is what happens when I try to write with a mouse. About 33.75 down to the stock's current price. When I wrote this put sale, when I sold this option, stock was a little bit higher, so I sold the 32 strike price. Brought in about 70 cents at the time, a little over 2% for a 1 month trade. That's a pretty nice overall premium for that amount of time. And the stock is a little bit below that price now. Not so much to really be a concern, but we do have it coming off of some recent support. Switch over here to green. It's kind of consolidating right now between 31.25 and 32. So the strike price that I sold right now is acting as pretty good resistance for the stock. So if this consolidation period holds, it looks like I'll probably take an assignment on this. That's not a terrible thing. Uh, as you've seen me talk about a lot, I don't avoid assignments on these. In fact, I actively sell these options, understanding that I may be assigned, and I use put selling as an opportunity to own stocks that I like and to add to my portfolio. This dividend distribution that is coming up, the ex-dividend date is on the 13th of January. That's a little bit before the expiration date. So unless the stock really drops several dollars uh, before the 13th, within the next 10 days, then um, then I probably won't be assigned. That's always a possibility with American style options. If the stock is below the strike price that you've sold, you can be assigned, but it typically doesn't happen unless the stock has dropped multiple dollars away from the strike price you sold. So it's pretty close to that now. Hi Jay, by the way, welcome. Glad to see you here, as well as Barry. It's always good to have more people in, and hopefully we'll get a few more coming in as we get things rolling. Um, this one, however, is does I do like the fact that it's holding at its current level. Even if I take that assignment, that'll be okay because this is a stock. Overall, it does pay a nice dividend. I'm not going to get. I really doubt I'm going to see the current dividend, but if I do get assigned, there'll be some opportunities to turn around and work with some covered calls in the interim. And this current pattern looks more like a very gradual reversal of the stock's much larger and longer downward trend. What we see here, really going all the way back to May of 2024, was a consolidation right down here around 30. It actually dropped a little bit below that at this point, but mostly consolidation between about 30 and maybe $33 a share. Couple of isolated movements past those levels, but this is one and two. This looks like a double bottom formation so far at the lower end of a very extended downward trend. And to me, that is a really good sign that this downward trend could be getting ready to reverse. And food products, consumer discretionary stocks are pretty defensive. And so, the current market environment with a little bit of uncertainty about whether or not rates are going to be able to continue to come down, if economic health is going to continue to be really strong. I think that food products stocks are going to come back in favor. They've been out of favor for most of 2024, but I think that we may see those start to rotate back in a positive way as people start to recognize the value in some of these stocks. So Hormel, that's one of these that I feel like I'm in a pretty good position. Anybody else that is that's in this trade? I mentioned I brought in about 70 cents on this. If you want to throw out your numbers and we can compare. If you did better than me, that's awesome, and I'm happy to excuse me. I'm happy to give out some tick marks. Here's Hormel. Looking at the options chain. Let's see. So this is the one that is set for expiry today. We got to go out to 14 days. And remember, I brought in 70 cents. If I wanted to, if I didn't like this current pattern and I was a little bit afraid that maybe it could break down, and to be completely fair, that is a possibility. This consolidation pattern that I talked about just a few minutes ago. Sorry, those are really ugly lines, but this is This is a pretty good consolidation range that's spreading across several months. But that doesn't change the reality that if this current support level doesn't hold, we'll see the stock drop back and it'll start to test this $30 level. And if that doesn't hold, we could see some continued downside. And so if you're in the camp of not liking that potential downside, maybe there's a reason to think about buying the option back early, closing out the obligation that is associated with the contract, and moving on. The interesting thing here is that I can get out of the 31, 32. If I wanted to get out of this right now, I could do that. I would have to pay 95 cents right now. So I would be eating about a 25-cent loss compared to how much I sold. There's just not a lot of volume on this. There's enough open interest that I don't think it would take you a lot of time to get out. But just see, this is one of the things about a stock like Hormel is it's not going to trade as actively as a lot of other stocks in the market. So that doesn't necessarily bother me so much. As I mentioned, there's enough open interest to make it as liquid as I need to be. But it does also mean that if you're going to try to control the price that you sell an option at or that you buy it back from the market at, you might have to be a little bit more patient, excuse me, than on stocks that are more actively traded. It means that you may not be able to wait for the market to come to you. And for example, we've got a 15-cent spread here between, bid and ask at the $32 strike. It may not be about trying to split the middle, which we can often do with some of these positions and some of these trades. You may just have to go ahead and take the price that you can get. We can see the last trade on this was at 96 cents. So if you're afraid of the downside, you would probably need to take a little bit of a loss to try to limit that. That being said, there's still 2 weeks to expiration. The stock is holding at pretty solid support. So for my money, there's not really a good reason for trying to get out. I'm going to hold it, see what happens. And we'll take another look at it next week and see where things stand. Any other thoughts on Hormel? Feel free to let us know. Okay. Let's check in on Nike. This was this week's put sale. It sold the $74 strike price, bringing in a little under 1.43% for a 2-week trade. So if you followed my trades and what you may have placed them and so on, you notice that I really try to get at least 1.5%, if not higher, on every one of these trades. So why did I settle for less than 1.5%? Why did I do 1.43%? That doesn't sound very great. What do you think? I probably could have gotten more if I'd used a different stock, right? That's actually not. It's actually not an unfair criticism if you want to think about it that way. So why would 1.43% be good enough? Not everybody in our group is going to agree with my reasoning here, but let's talk about expectations and understanding what you need to be successful. What one person, myself for example, may decide is a good enough trade isn't going to be the same as what somebody else does. Our friend Ray, for example, is usually looking for an annualized result of at least 30% per year. And that means that in many cases he will he will skip out on trades that I'll place because they won't line up with the 30% annualized return. So excuse me. In my case, I'm really trying to set a very conservative. Uh, there we go, Barry. Thank you. I got tongue tied for a second. And you just said it. Once you annualize, it's still better than bank interest on your money. That is the goal. And I'm not just trying to improve on bank interest. I'm trying to think in very practical but conservative terms about the stock market. Everybody talks about trying to make big money in trading, short-term trading solution strategies like swing trading, momentum trading, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Income generation works a little bit differently. It is possible to achieve some pretty high average annual returns, uh, even with short-term income generation like what I do. But I'm really only trying to hit about, let me just put this up here. My annualized target is really only about 18%, which if you think about that, you divide that by 12, it equals 1.5%. So you see me often placing trades that are at least 1.5% per trade, but I'm really only trying to hit about 1.5% per month. So I'm actually going for a pretty conservative target on these. I very often am exceeding that target with the trades that I place, but that's not exactly that's not exactly the goal. As long as I'm in that 18% annualized per year mark, I feel pretty good about what my overall results are. It's one of the reasons that even sometimes I get tempted to really look at some of the bull put spread alternatives that I post because sometimes those also look pretty nice. But Barry, you're absolutely right. He says when dealing with big money, you can lose it as well as gain on it. And so I try to work with very conservative position sizes, but also conservative expectations. So with this trade, this was 1.43% that I brought in for just a little over 2 weeks of time. Now let's think about that 2 weeks on an annualized basis. If I just divide 365 days by 15, which is the number of days of this trade, that means that I can place up to 24.33 trades per year, assuming the same kind of circumstances. That's a simplified assumption. I'm also going to round this down because we can't place partial trades. So I'm going to round this down to 24. So if I multiply 1.43% by 24, now I'm at 34.32% on an annualized basis. This is actually a trade that my friend Ray would have been happy with because you're still hitting above that 30% mark. So this is actually really attractive when you consider it on that basis. That's actually the main reason that I decided to place the trade, and I didn't really worry about too much about trying to find something else that might be paying a little bit more. There's a lot of stocks recently that have fallen into some really attractive valuation levels that I may be able to use as well. But I really don't want to try to monkey around with it too much. Once I find a stock that I'm familiar with that I like and is offering a good enough kind of trade, that's usually about where I stop. So that's kind of what happened this week with Nike. We'll see where this lands. Just check in with the stock right now, and we can see it's actually a little bit below 74, approaching $73 per share. So again, we have some bearish momentum picking up on this stock. This is one that is not. This is in a sector, consumer discretionary, that has been one of the actually in favor sectors of the market, and so Nike has actually diverged from the rest of the sector over the past year. It's one of the reasons that I started paying attention to it. is because it's dropped down to levels that make its value proposition look really, really interesting. And you may not, you may or may not like the company. That's okay. If you decide to pass on the trade, that's okay too. Um, but I try to be pretty agnostic about the opportunities that I see when they cross my desk. Tried not to get too politically wrapped up in some of the things that some of these companies may be doing. I really try to focus on what the bottom line is, and if they're, especially if it's a product I use, and I'm not going to lie, I have some Nikes. Most people do. There's that gives me something more to think about in terms of whether or not there's an opportunity that is worth paying attention to. So we'll see where this goes. We're really only just a few days in. In fact, I only placed this trade yesterday because of the New Year holiday. So it's only been in one day. Let's give it some time, see where it plays out. The original trade that I posted was for 75. So uh, being able to place the 74, place the trade with the $74 strike price was an adjustment for yesterday's conditions. So we'll see. It does look like it's got really solid support right now. Right here in the $73 area. And if it breaks down, if it's not able to hold that, we've got the 52-week low here, which is closer to about 71. So really, it doesn't look like there's a ton of downside on this right now. And I know that if you've been following a stock like Nike throughout the year, you probably said that. Well, probably here, there's a lot of support at 90, so it shouldn't break down much below that than it did. That is absolutely true. At the same time, the contrarian side of me says that this is a downward trend that is really extending into a very long-term period of time on a company with a pretty broad set of fundamental strengths. We can see, this downward trend goes all the way back to 2022. And I'm not saying that it wasn't totally deserved, because there's usually, for this kind of a trend to hold for this long a period, there's usually some reasons that the market is going to keep it out of favor. Probably some well-deserved ones. And Nike has had some issues. They've given up some market share to some smaller, more nimble competitors lately. So that's a fair assessment if you're being a little bit critical of the company. At the same time, it is one of the 600-pound gorillas in this particular industry. So, okay, that's my take on Nike. We can go through a few of the other stocks. I have taken an increasing number of assignments more recently, and that's meant that I've acquired shares in a number of companies that I've been sitting and watching as I went through. If you watched last week's live stream, then you saw me cover a few of these, like Huntsman, Borg Warner, Comcast, certainly FMC, and Devon. All of these are down they're down well below the prices that I was assigned at, and these are stocks that it's looking like trying to find a reversal point. It's going to take some time, and so it's an opportunity to try to be patient with these, and let that happen in its own due time. Okay. I want to open this up then. In the time that we've got left, pretty much covered the stocks that I'm paying the most attention to right now. Certainly not ignoring the stocks that I have been assigned shares in. It's just that right now they're not really at a price where they're offering a lot of attractive opportunities for covered calls. So let's open things up a bit. And if there are some stocks that you are interested in, you'd like to take a look at, maybe have the group go through some analysis on it. We've got some time, and we can do that. If you'd like, I can even walk through all of the fundamental and value analysis that I do on those stocks. Put myself on mute just for a minute to take a drink. But I'm certainly happy to review anything that any of you that are here on the live stream might be interested in looking at. And if not, that's fine too. We can wrap this up early. I can give you back some more time in your day, and we can always pick up again next time as well. So we'll go ahead and do that. Appreciate those of you who were able to attend today. As always, if you have questions between now and next time, reach out to me. Send me an email if you wish, or reach out to me on our Discord server. Barry, I haven't entered into any new trades lately. Just working through what I have. Yeah, and that's kind of one of the things that's kind of the common theme of the market right now, right? Is I think it's a really good time, and Barry, I appreciate you sharing that, because I think this is a really good time, and I've written about this a little bit. Market is just uncertain enough to make some. There's a number of sectors right now where I'm finding stocks that are pretty good values, but I'll be honest, I'm a little bit leery enough of the sector to not be sure that I want to place a trade with in those particular industries. Tech stocks kind of fall into that a little bit right now. I've got to see something really compelling about I've got to see something really compelling about that company before I want to place a trade in it right now, just because the market is just kind of hinky enough to make you a little bit leery. And so sometimes being more selective is better. Jay is saying the same. Barry, honestly, I've barely looked at the market the last couple of weeks, and that's okay. There's the one thing that I tried to emphasize, and I tried to write about this last week. What we're doing as investors, this is part of our lives, but it isn't our life, right? We have a lot of other things going on. Holidays come around. Guess what? I hope that the priority are your loved ones, right? Being able to spend time with the people that you care the most about. And if the markets kind of take a backseat to that, that's okay. There's nothing wrong with it. So, New Year is a good time to start to get back into the saddle and evaluate where those opportunities may lie. But that's okay. We can always. That's the one of the great things about the market. One of the things that I really love about it is it's always there. You can take a little bit of time away from it if you need to, and don't be afraid of that. Don't feel like there should be no fear of missing out, right? If you decide to say, well, I'm not going to worry too much about the market right now because I've got some other things going on. Market's going to be there when you decide to come back, and it's going to be ready for you when you decide to come back, so you don't need to worry about it too much. So we'll go ahead and call it for this week. I appreciate those of you who are able to be here in this live stream. Again, please reach out to me if you have any questions on the Discord server. Otherwise, look forward to talking again next Friday. Thanks, everybody.